Thank you, Toastmasters, for having me. It's a pleasure to visit your club. You all know my guest, but do you really know him? Did you know his middle name is Edward? Do you know why? Let's find out. Please put your hands together for my guest, Derek Edward Prochaska.
Thank you, James.
So, who is Edward?
Edward O'Brien is my grandfather, and he's quite the character in my hometown of Black River Falls, Wisconsin. He's a magnificent storyteller, and I grew up hearing his stories all my life. And he was also a practical joker. He was quite a jester. He's very well known for water chestnuts that he used to take. And he would carve out all of the nut inside the chestnut. And then he would take a condom and put it inside the water chestnut and then seal it over as though it looked like nothing had happened. He'd do half a dozen of these and bag them up and bring them throughout Wisconsin to bars. And he would get people to open them in their mouth, and out would pop the condom, and he would get the biggest kick out of it as a joke, as a party joke, and it was a blast. That's Edward O'Brien, my grandfather, the practical jokester.
Sounds like a character. Yeah. Why did you first join Toastmasters?
I first joined Toastmasters because I've always been interested in speaking and performance and TED Talks, but I was inspired when there was a charter meeting up on the 23rd floor of the Hennepin County Government Center. I was interested and I checked it out, and I was very inspired. I'm like, this is something I can do. This is something I want to aspire to. I want to be comfortable in public speaking. So I was inspired, and that's why I joined Toastmasters.
We're very glad to have you. You're an articulate speaker now, and Toastmasters clearly has something to do with that. But tell us about a time when you weren't so articulate in a public setting like this.
All the time. All the time I am not articulate. That's exactly why I practice every week. I come to Toastmasters and I practice these skills. I go through the CC manuals. I practice my table topics, and that allows me and gives me the confidence that I need to speak articulately as often as I can. So it's through practice and regular meetings that I do.
You mind if I ask you a more personal question?
Absolutely.
Where were you at the lowest part of your career, and how did you turn it around?
I had a really tough time quite a few years back. I had a very difficult manager who I was working with. And it was a difficult situation where I ended up being terminated for. I lost my job. But it ended up being probably one of the best managers that I had worked for, because I learned everything about how I didn't want to lead, how I didn't want to be or be perceived. So it was a very big, difficult lesson, but I learned a lot about how not to treat people and how not to expect others to perform. So it was a big learning experience, but a very difficult time in my life that hopefully I think I've turned it around.
How has the skills you've learned from Toastmasters affected your career?
It has really given me the confidence to take my career to the next level. Most of my career has been largely technical, and I'm really kind of changing directions. I'm shifting gears into more leadership-based roles and practicing those skills at the club, just like we practice our speaking. Practicing our leadership skills at the club and so on beyond the club has really given me the skills and real-world experience to build that confidence and to apply that directly to my job.
Has your personal life improved?
Absolutely. By developing my leadership skills, I've learned how to lead myself better. I've learned how to take control of my health. I've learned how to lead my children and my family and help them as well. So it's definitely spilled over into all aspects of my life, for certain.
It does seem to happen a lot where you improve one aspect of your life and everything else falls into place.
That's right.
It's really great to hear. What advice can you give to people to do well in life as you have?
I find the best advice I could give anybody is find what you're passionate about. What do you love to do? Do more of that. What do you despise doing? Do less of that. Find something that you really enjoy, that gives you that spark, that passion, and do more of that, and grow with that, and develop a mastery with those types of interests. So that's advice. That's the advice I would give.
Yeah, being self-aware.
Yeah.
It's very underrated. Why did you become so interested in leadership roles at Toastmasters in the first place?
It's a really interesting organization. I mean, at the club level, you have your club officers. And beyond that, there's the area director level, where you're leading 5 clubs. And it's very interesting because at that level, you are kind of in charge of leading other leaders from clubs. My newest role, starting next month in July, I will be the division director for Division I in St. Paul, where I will be leading other area directors who will be leading other club officers. So it really kind of takes it up to another level. And it's really interesting organization because at each level you go, your network expands, you learn more, you're practicing a leadership on a whole nother level. And it's really been a huge benefit for me and interesting and fun at the same time. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity to simulate progression through an organization and learning about how it works and applying that to your regular life in a safe environment. No judgments here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap up pretty soon, and I'd like to end with something a bit more fun. I borrowed some questions from the famous interviewer James Lipton from Inside the Actors Studio fame. I'm going to ask you them.
All right.
So hopefully you don't have anything prepared ahead of time. We'll be completely spontaneous.
Shoot.
All right. Question 1. What is your favorite word?
Awesome.
What is your least favorite word?
Abortion.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
The outdoors, being in nature.
What turns you off creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
Complainers.
What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of my children laughing.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Power steering brakes.
What is your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word begins with the letter F and ends with the letter K.
What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
If I hadn't been in IT, I would have been a teacher.
What profession would you not like to do?
Sewage treatment plant operator.
Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Our last one, the difficult one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Go back, you've come the wrong direction.
Very nice. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you,
Edward
James.
Prochaska.